Hello and welcome to the European Circle report. The European Council for Foreign Affairs met on Monday in Luxembourg. The meeting focused on the more recent developments in Syria and of growing concern regarding Iran's supposed nuclear ambitions. In an official statement, the Council stressed that the EU continues to stand behind the Syrian people. Whilst the Syrians continue to fight for freedom and democracy, the Council remarked that it is extremely concerned about the consequences of the unrest. It believes the crisis could have a negative impact on security and stability in neighbouring countries. The EU has renewed sanctions against the Syrian regime, blaming the ongoing and escalating violence in the conflict. The sanctions ordered by the Council of Foreign Affairs forbid arms imports from Syria into the EU and exclude any involvement of the EU in the transportation of Syrian weapons. Companies within the Union are also banned from any involvement in Syrian arms exports and imports. EU citizens and companies are no longer allowed to participate in negotiations with the Syrian regime. The EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, Catherine Ashton, has warned against the militarization of the conflict and also called for a ban on all arms supplies to Syria. Besides the Syrian arms trade, sanctions have also been imposed in the aviation industry, with travel bans enforced against certain people who the EU believe to have supported the violent repression of the Syrian population. This is now the 19th time that the Foreign Affairs Council has adopted sanctions against Syria. In other developments, the EU has also imposed further sanctions against the Iranian regime. Due to concerns surrounding the country's nuclear policy, the restrictions have been strengthened considerably. Whilst the goal of the Council appears to be aimed at achieving a lasting, peaceful solution to the deadlock, reports this week have indicated that Iranian civilians are bearing the brunt of the Western-led sanctions, with medical supplies and food both in short supply. The West, however, is waiting on Iran to prove that its nuclear power will only be used for peaceful purposes, through accepting investigations that would be carried out by the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. The new sanctions drawn up by the Council target both the regime's nuclear program and its arms-building industries. The Council has forbidden the export of materials to Iran that might be used in tasks related to the proliferation of nuclear and missile power. The EU has also prohibited any transactions taking place between European and Iranian banks, with a few exceptions that must now go through specific authorization processes. Sanctions have already been enforced, preventing business transactions with the Iranian Central Bank and the import of natural gas from the country. The European Union was the unlikely recipient of this year's Nobel Prize for Peace. Martin Schulz, President of the European Parliament, spoke of a tribute to all the citizens of Europe who now live together in peace and harmony. However, the critics were out in their droves after the Nobel Committee made yet another surprising decision, having already awarded the likes of American President Barack Obama and former US Secretary of State Henry Kissinger with peace prizes. Despite this, German Chancellor Angela Merkel believes the committee's decision to award the Nobel Peace Prize to the EU is symbolic. She said it highlighted how the EU's common values and principles throughout the crisis are special for the continent, providing an inspiration for other struggling states. Merkel commented that for the European Union, this prize is a great incentive to peacefully overcome what is called the worst crisis on European soil since the Treaty of Rome. On the 10th of December, the President of the European Council, Herman Van Rompuy, President of the European Commission, José Barroso, and President of the European Parliament, Martin Schulz, will accept the honour in Oslo. It remains unclear, however, who will deliver the speech at the ceremony. In a statement by the President of the European Parliament, Schulz remarked that this was unimportant as all three institutions would be present at the ceremony. The committee's reasoning for awarding the prize to the EU was based on the Union's encouraging of peace, reconciliation, human rights and democracy over the past 60 years. That was the European Circle report for this week. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.